Welcome to the Concept of Credit podcast. My name is credit coach Nicole Scott. I am your host. The Concept of Credit podcast talks about the concept behind credit, how you should structure your credit report so you can have the highest credit score possible and you can have the strongest credit report so you can leverage your credit for either personal or business use. Because at the end of the day, the concept behind credit is where the foundation starts. So today we are going to be talking about Tradelines and how you can benefit and boost your credit score in the fastest manner possible by leveraging Tradelines. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys are following us on all of our social media platforms. Credit Coach Nicole Scott on Instagram and YouTube. Make sure you have followed, subscribe, like, comment, even take a look in the description because we have left some great valuable information, including our free credit building guide where you can learn how to build credit. I've also left the link below for the video on YouTube on how to build a strong credit. But in this podcast, you definitely want to make sure that you have listened to all of the previous episodes so you can really understand the concept behind credit and how you can leverage your credit to not only have a great credit score now, but have a great credit score for the rest of your life and be able to change the lives around you by using credit. Credit is literally the foundation for any successful venture that you plan to do. So a lot of things are going to revolve around your credit score. Your credit score is really built up of different factors. And I talk about the concept behind all of those factors in each of our episodes. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how we can actually use Tradelines to boost our credit score. Because a lot of times we're not really happy with our credit score because it's just too low. We're trying, but we know we can use a boost. And that's where Tradelines come in. They're great for people that do not have any collection accounts, derogatory accounts, or accounts that are actively lowering their credit score. Sometimes that can be considered bankruptcy because other accounts are actively listed that they're in a bankruptcy. So it depends on how the data is listed on the credit report. I have added Tradelines to clients' credit profile with a bankruptcy, and it did not add as many points as we wanted it to. It still gave them about 30 points, which is better than nothing. But if you didn't have that bankruptcy, it would have been a lot higher because typically when you're adding Tradelines to a credit report, you can expect for Tradelines to give you a credit boost of anywhere from 2 to 5 points per year. So the age is going to be really important. If you haven't watched our podcast on credit age, you want to make sure to check that out because this is the fastest way that you can add credit age to your credit profile by using Tradelines. Tradelines are great because you can basically piggyback off people that already understand the concept behind credit. They know what it takes to have a strong credit profile so they can get these type of credit Tradelines and they can maintain these Tradelines. And now look, they're making money off these Tradelines. They're helping other people change their lives by piggybacking off their great credit history. Think about the opportunity, the concept behind all of this. You could help your children. You could help your family members. You can help your community. You can help your clients. You can turn this into a business. There's so many things that you can do with Tradelines. And if you have children under the age of 18 or you have children that are of age, you can still add them. Most times, most credit cards, your authorized users have to be at least 18 years old, right? Some of them don't. But say you have an 18-year-old, you can add them as an authorized user to your credit card and they will inherit your credit profile for that account onto their credit report. That is going to help them out and jumpstart their credit. They'll probably have a synthetic credit score because it's not really their history, although they're inheriting it from you. So they still are going to need to build positive credit in their name, get some credit cards, demonstrate their credit habits of keeping a low limit, paying the bill on time, and just maintaining a good relationship. You want to keep the credit utilization below 10% of the credit limit. You never want to spend more than 10% of your limit, your credit limit on a credit credit card. If you feel like, hey, I want to do this to raise my limits, then you would need to spend more money. Show them, hey, I can spend, but I can also pay. And you would need to pay that off almost immediately. Definitely pay it prior to the statement date. But if one of your goals is to get high limit credit cards, Tradelines are going to be your ticket. Because think about it like this. Understand the concept behind it. If I'm a bank and the highest credit limit you have listed on your credit report is $500, why in the world would I even think to give you $20,000? But when you go in there with the credit profile with a few accounts that do have a 20K limit, they're now looking at that like, okay, well, we would feel comfortable right in the middle, right around 10 or maybe 15,000, because you have those higher limits. So you've demonstrated that people trust you with higher limits. Sometimes it's a computer system, sometimes it's a person. Yes, you can tell it does say authorized user, but that's what people have been using for so long to piggyback off other people's high limits, good credit history. I always recommend, if you want to go for as many points as possible, you need to add a trade line that's at least 7 years in age, if not more, 7 or more years. In some cases, if you don't have any credit, you can get away with a few years. But if you're going to pay for a trade line, you might as well invest in one that's going to give you the most benefit, which is going to be age at least 7, 6 years, no less than like 4. And you want to get a high limit. So you want to get at least 20K and up, 15K and up. So that way you can demonstrate that you have those higher amounts listed on your credit profile. Because I was that person that only had $500. The highest credit limit that they would give me was $500. I remember when I finally got my $1,500 credit card, the amount of joy, but I was still so discouraged because I'm like, I should have way higher limits than this. This is bad. And now one of my highest credit cards on my personal side is $32,000, and I have multiple high limit credit cards, which in return helps me get multiple higher limit credit cards on my business side, or any business that I would therefore personally guarantee, because I've built my foundation. I understand the concept behind credit. I'm not going to let a $500, $1,000, anything less than $500,000 ruin my credit, because I know my credit profile is worth millions in itself. So you have to understand the concept of credit to fully take in and understand what you could possibly achieve with a strong credit score and with a strong credit profile. And it's really about looking at the data points and then adding trade lines, removing negative items, adding positive items. It's that simple. Okay. It's a very simple equation, but you have to understand the concept behind everything. And that might be, removing negative items, might be disputing it or settling it, or whatever you have to do to turn that negative into either not there or, okay, now it's positive. It's no longer a negative. It's no longer affecting me. It's done. It's in the past. It's settled. Okay. It's closed. Then you can try to fight it after it's closed, because they're no longer going to be actively reporting that it's a problem. And then adding positive accounts. But what type of positive accounts do we need to add? And I talked about this in our Mixture of Accounts podcast, where we talk about the good mixture of accounts. But in this podcast, it's best to add trade lines, because you're going to need primary accounts and you're also going to need authorized user accounts. And those authorized user accounts are great for adding history and higher limits to help you achieve not only a higher credit score, but to piggyback off their good credit and credit limits as well. Because if you add higher limit trade lines to your credit profile, you're going to get higher limits offered to you. Okay, that's just how credit works. I definitely know, because get your foot in the door and you can always ask for credit line increases or credit limit increases with your bank every 3 to 6 months. You just want to make sure that you're managing your account properly. You never really want to let more than a 10% credit card utilization report to the credit bureaus. You really want to keep that low. So if you do use your card, you're paying that sucker off immediately. You're only spending money that you actually have. There's nothing wrong with building credit to get higher limits with, manufacturer spending, and that's a whole nother topic, and leveraging your credit to do things that would give give you higher limits. But you have to be able to have the funds to pay it back almost immediately, and definitely paid 3 business days prior to the statement date, because the statement date is going to be the date that they actually report this information to the credit bureaus. And no matter what type of trade line you're adding, typically with authorized user trade lines, they will report to your credit report 10 business days after the closing date. So if you're buying a trade line, we offer trade lines. You can visit the description and see all of our trade lines that we offer. We have a ton of different ones, high limits, high history, but we're here to serve those that are ready, willing, and able to make that investment. If you don't have the funds to make the investment, then it's just not right for you. But we are here, if you want to make that investment. Yes, trade lines can be costly, but in my opinion, it's an investment that you need to understand the concept behind. If you want to get higher amounts of credit and you want to have a higher credit score, sometimes you got to make that investment. You got to pay to play. And if someone else is letting you piggyback off their good credit, then you're going to have to pay for that. And the higher the history, the higher the limits, the more you pay. So you have to understand how to leverage that. But you can certainly apply for as many things as possible while you have the trade lines active. And all of our trade lines are active for 2 billing cycles. So you're going to have 2 whole months to be able to apply for a bunch of different credit products. Then you can always add more trade lines. And that's what I always tell people, is not just a one-time thing. You want to add trade lines, run it up, wait like a month or 2, and then add some more trade lines and add a bunch of different trade lines over time, so you have a bunch of high limits, good payment history, because even when those are taken off as inactive, you're still going to get that payment history. They're still going to be on there. Sometimes they fall off, but I still have all of my authorized user accounts on TransUnion, so it's been a great investment. My TransUnion credit score is over 800, so I've really been able to leverage trade lines to not only get higher credit limits, but better history and a higher credit score. So again, guys, trade lines are extremely important investment when it comes to credit. A lot of people tell you out there's a 2-step process when it comes to credit repair. The first thing is removing the negatives. The second step is adding trade lines. So trade lines are going to be a very important investment that you're going to need to make in order to really get the credit score that you want. And I can't say that, any more clear. You have to understand the concept behind it. So again, guys, my name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. If you haven't by now, make sure that you followed me on social media, Instagram, YouTube at Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Check out some of the links in our description below. You can get a copy of your credit report. You can buy trade lines. You can sign up for coaching packages. You can watch all of our videos on YouTube. We also have a business credit course. We offer business funding. We offer personal loans. We offer a ton of different products and services to help you leverage credit and build wealth. Again, guys, my name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in today. See you next time.